Ambassador Marcus Chen stepped off the transport shuttle and onto the Galaxy Council station. The massive structure floated in space above a blue-green planet called Kepler 442b. Chen looked around at the gleaming metal walls and strange alien symbols that covered every surface. This was his first time on the council station, but he had studied it for months. Chen was a tall man with black hair and brown eyes. He wore a simple blue suit that made him look like any businessman from Earth. Behind him walked two other humans. Sarah Kim carried a briefcase full of documents. David Park had a small bag with communication equipment. They looked normal and unremarkable, which was exactly what Chen wanted. The station buzzed with activity. Aliens of many different shapes and sizes moved through the corridors. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others slithered or floated. Chen watched them all carefully, but kept his face calm and friendly. A group of tall, gray-skinned aliens approached them. These were the Vorthak, one of the most powerful species in the Galaxy Council. Their leader wore red armor that covered his entire body except for his face. Sharp teeth showed when he spoke. "So these are the humans," the Vorthak said. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "You look even weaker than we expected," Chen smiled politely. "I am Ambassador Marcus Chen from Earth. Thank you for allowing us to visit your station. We hope these talks will benefit everyone." The Vorthak laughed, a harsh sound that made other aliens turn to look. "Benefit everyone? You should worry about surviving these talks first." More aliens gathered around them. Chen recognized them from his studies. The ethereal collective looked like tall, thin ghosts made of blue light. They considered themselves the smartest beings in the galaxy. The Zephyrians could shift between solid and gas form at will. They were known for being excellent spies and assassins. A floating creature covered in tentacles drifted closer. This was Speaker Vex Wrath, who led the Galaxy Council meetings. His voice came from a small device attached to his body. "Humans," Vex Wrath said. "You have requested to join our council. But first, you must prove you deserve a place among civilized species." Chen nodded respectfully. "We understand. Speaker Vex Wrath, Earth is ready to discuss our membership and what we can offer the galaxy." Several aliens made sounds that Chen's translator identified as laughter. An ethereal collective member floated forward. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "What can you offer? Your species lives for less than 100 years. You fight wars among yourselves. Your technology is primitive. You have only existed in space for a few decades." "That is true," Chen agreed calmly. "We are young, compared to your great civilizations. But we learn quickly and work hard. We believe we can contribute something valuable." The Vorthak leader stepped closer. Chen could smell something like burning metal from the alien's breath. "Your contribution will be manual labor. Mining asteroids. Growing food on dangerous worlds. Your weak bodies are good for nothing else." Chen's companions, Sarah and David, shifted uncomfortably. But Chen's expression never changed. He continued to smile politely. "Perhaps we should begin the formal negotiations," Chen suggested. "We have brought detailed proposals for trade agreements and mutual defense pacts." This caused even more laughter from the assembled aliens. A spider-like creature with 6 arms clicked its mandibles together. "Defense pacts? What could humans defend us from? Your entire fleet has maybe 50 ships. We have thousands." Chen pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A holographic image appeared showing Earth's space fleet. The aliens studied it with interest. The ships looked simple and functional. "Nothing special." "You are correct," Chen admitted. "Our fleet is small, but we hope to grow stronger by learning from your advanced technologies." Vex Wrath made a bubbling sound that indicated approval. "At least you are honest about your limitations. This is more promising than we expected." The group began moving through the station toward the main conference room. As they walked, aliens from different species pointed at the humans and whispered among themselves. Chen heard fragments of their conversations through his translator. "Look how small they are. Their skin looks so soft. I heard they need to breathe oxygen constantly. Pathetic creatures. Chen ignored the comments and focused on studying the station's layout. He memorized every corridor, every door, every security checkpoint they passed. His companions did the same, though they hid it well. The conference room was enormous. A circular table sat in the center, with chairs designed for many different types of alien bodies. Tall windows showed the planet below and the stars beyond. Chen took his assigned seat between Sarah and David. 12 different alien representatives sat around the table. Each one represented a major species in the Galaxy Council. They all stared at the three humans with expressions ranging from amusement to contempt. "Let us begin," Vexwrath announced. "Humans, you have requested membership in our council. But first, you must understand our rules." Chen listened carefully as the alien explained how the Galaxy Council worked. Older, more powerful species made the important decisions. Newer species like humanity would have very limited rights. They would need to prove themselves worthy over many centuries. "We understand," Chen said when Vexwrath finished. "What specifically do you require from Earth?" The Vorthak leader grinned, showing all his sharp teeth. "First, you will surrender your 12 newest colony worlds to Council administration. Second, you will provide 1 million human workers for our industrial projects. Third, your military will serve under Council command." Sarah made a small sound of surprise. David's hand moved slightly toward his communication device. But Chen remained perfectly calm. "These are significant requirements," Chen said carefully. "I will need to consult with Earth's government before I can respond." "Of course," Vexwrath bubbled. "We will give you 1 hour to contact your home world. But understand this, Ambassador Chen. These terms are not negotiable. Accept them, or face the consequences." The threat hung in the air like a dark cloud. Chen stood up slowly and bowed politely to each alien representative. "Thank you for your patience," he said. "We will return with Earth's answer." As the three humans left the conference room, Chen could hear the aliens talking excitedly behind them. They thought they had cornered Earth into an impossible situation. They expected the humans to either surrender completely or try to flee in panic. Chen walked calmly through the corridors, still smiling politely at every alien they passed. But behind his calm exterior, something was beginning to change. His brown eyes flickered for just a moment, showing a hint of silver that no one noticed. The real negotiations were about to begin. Chen returned to the conference room exactly 1 hour later. His two companions followed behind him, their faces showing no emotion. The alien representatives had remained in their seats, talking quietly among themselves. When the humans entered, all conversation stopped. "Well?" Vexwrath's tentacles curled with anticipation. "What is Earth's answer to our generous offer?" Chen walked slowly to his chair and remained standing. He looked at each alien representative in turn before speaking. His voice was calm and respectful. "Earth thanks the Galaxy Council for their proposal. However, after careful consideration, we must respectfully decline your terms." Silence filled the room for several seconds. Then the Vorthak leader slammed his armored fist on the table. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. "Decline?" The alien's voice rose to a roar. "You insignificant insects think you can refuse us?" Chen nodded politely. "We believe there must be other ways for Earth to contribute to galactic civilization. Ways that allow us to maintain our sovereignty while still participating in this great community." The spider-like alien clicked its mandibles rapidly. "Sovereignty? You speak of sovereignty when you have nothing to bargain with?" An ethereal collective member floated higher in the air. Its blue light pulsed with anger. "Your species has existed in space for mere decades. We have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. You will accept our terms or face destruction." "I understand your frustration," Chen replied calmly. "Perhaps we could discuss alternative arrangements that would be acceptable to both sides." Vexwrath made a bubbling sound that Chen's translator identified as bitter laughter. "Alternative arrangements? There are no alternatives. You misunderstood the nature of this meeting, Ambassador Chen." The speaker pressed a button on his chair. Immediately, Red lights began flashing throughout the conference room. A loud alarm sounded 3 times, then stopped. Chen noticed that the door they had entered through was now sealed shut. "What you call negotiations," Vexwrath continued. "We call a final warning. Your species has shown dangerous signs of independence." More aliens began entering the room through side doors. These were not diplomats. They were soldiers and security forces from various species. Tall Vorthak warriors in battle armor. Zephyrian assassins that flickered between solid and gas form. Heavily armed creatures that Chen did not recognize. "You see," the Vorthak leader explained as he stood up. "We already knew what Earth's answer would be. Your government is predictable. Too proud. Too stubborn. Too stupid to accept reality." Chen looked around the room. More than 30 armed aliens now surrounded the 3 humans. Sarah moved closer to Chen's left side. David stepped to his right. Neither showed any sign of fear. "The truth is," Vexwrath said, "we brought you here to make an example. Your defiance will be broadcast to every human world. They will see their proud ambassador broken and begging. Then they will accept our terms without question." Chen tilted his head slightly. "An interesting plan. But perhaps you should have researched Earth's diplomatic protocols more thoroughly." The ethereal collective member pulsed brighter. "Research? What is there to research about a primitive species? Your entire civilization is an open book to us." "Of course," Chen agreed. "We have always been very transparent about our capabilities." A Zephyrian assassin moved closer, shifting between gas and solid form. "Stop talking. This human thinks he can delay the inevitable with clever words." Chen smiled, but something about his expression had changed. The smile was still polite, but it no longer looked entirely human. His eyes flickered again, silver showing through the brown for just a moment longer this time. "Delay?" Chen asked. "Why would I want to delay anything? We are exactly where we need to be." The Vorthak leader raised his energy weapon. "Enough. You will kneel before the council and beg for mercy. Your companions will watch. Then you will record a message telling your people to surrender." Sarah and David stepped forward, moving to protect Chen. The nearest Vorthak warrior backhanded Sarah with his armored gauntlet. She flew across the room and hit the wall hard. David tried to reach her, but 3 spider-like aliens grabbed him with their arms. Chen watched this happen without moving. His expression remained calm, almost curious. When David cried out in pain, Chen's smile grew wider. "Interesting," Chen said quietly. "You attacked my companions without provocation. That changes things significantly." The Vorthak leader pointed his weapon directly at Chen's chest. "You humans are all the same. Weak, cowardly. You talk about honor and dignity, but you fold the moment real power is displayed." "Power?" Chen repeated the word, as if testing its flavor. "Yes. Power is important. But perhaps we have different definitions of that word." Energy weapons throughout the room began charging with high-pitched whines. Vexwrath floated closer, his tentacles writhing with excitement. "Your ship's weapons are disabled," the speaker announced. "Your communications are jammed. Your government cannot help you. You are completely alone and defenseless." Chen looked down at his hands. They appeared normal, human skin, 5 fingers each, nothing threatening about them. But something was different. The skin had a slight shimmer to it now, like metal reflecting light. "Defenseless," Chen mused. "That is certainly what we wanted you to think." The Vorthak leader's finger moved toward his weapon's trigger. "Last chance. Human. Can kneel, or we will make your death very painful." Chen finally moved. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out what looked like a simple communication device. Every alien weapon in the room immediately focused on him. "You should have done your homework," Chen said, his voice carrying a new harmonic tone that made several translation devices spark and stutter. "Earth has very specific protocols for situations like this." He pressed a single button on the device. Nothing seemed to happen for several seconds. Then, the space outside the windows began to change. What had appeared to be empty space now flickered and shimmered. Shapes began to appear. Massive shapes that had been hidden somehow. The Zephyrian assassin who had been threatening Chen suddenly stopped moving, his form locked in solid state, unable to shift. Around the room, other aliens found their weapons powering down without their commands. What is happening? Vexwrath's voice rose to a screech. What did you do? Chen's smile was no longer polite. It was something else entirely. Something that made the Vorthok leader take a step backward, despite his armor and weapons. I activated Earth's real diplomatic protocol, Chen explained. His voice now carried multiple harmonics that caused pain in alien ears. The one we use when someone attacks our diplomats. Sarah was getting up from where she had fallen. But something was wrong with her appearance. Her skin was also beginning to shimmer. David was standing straighter, despite being held by 3 aliens. His eyes were turning silver. You see, Chen continued, his human appearance beginning to shift in subtle but disturbing ways. Earth did send a diplomatic mission to this station, but we never said it was a human diplomatic mission. The temperature in the room dropped several degrees. Alien breath began showing as white vapor. Electronic systems throughout the station started making strange noises. Chen looked directly at the Vorthak leader who still had his weapon pointed at him. My name is Marcus Chen. I am Earth's diplomatic enforcer. And your homework assignment just became very, very overdue. The real negotiations were about to begin. Chen's transformation began slowly, then accelerated rapidly. His brown eyes shifted completely to silver, reflecting light like polished metal. The shimmer on his skin spread across his face and hands, creating patterns that moved like liquid mercury under his clothing. The Vorthak leader's weapon finally fired. A beam of pure energy shot toward Chen's chest. It should have burned a hole straight through him. Instead, the energy beam struck Chen and simply stopped. The light spread across his body like water hitting a shield, then faded harmlessly away. Impossible, the Vorthak whispered. No organic being can survive a direct hit from a plasma rifle. Chen tilted his head, the movement now unnaturally fluid. You are correct. No organic being could survive that. Throughout the room, aliens were discovering that their weapons no longer functioned. Energy cells were draining. Mechanical parts were seizing up. Even their most advanced technology seemed to be failing for no apparent reason. Sarah stood up completely now. Her appearance was changing too. Her skin had become translucent, showing circuits of light running beneath the surface. When she spoke, her voice had the same harmonic quality as Chen's. Running full system diagnostics, she announced to no one in particular. All station security protocols have been compromised. Weapons systems offline. Communications array under our control. David pushed away the spider-like aliens that had been holding him. They released him without resistance, their movements suddenly clumsy and confused. David's eyes were now completely silver. And when he moved, he left faint afterimages in the air. Stealth systems disengaged, David reported. Fleet positions revealed. Surrounding space is now under human control. Vexwrath's tentacles writhed in panic. What are you? What have you done to our systems? Chen's smile was no longer human at all. His teeth had become metallic, reflecting the room's lights like mirrors. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from multiple sources at once. We have done nothing to your systems. We simply stopped pretending to be limited by them. The alien representatives were now backing away from the 3 humans. The ethereal collective member tried to float higher but found itself unable to rise more than a few inches above its chair. You appeared as humans, the ethereal said, its blue light flickering with fear. Our scanners confirmed your biology. You bled when tested. You showed human DNA patterns. Chen nodded approvingly. Very good observations. We did indeed appear to be human. We did bleed when tested. We did show human DNA. All of this was completely accurate. He paused, enjoying the confusion on the aliens' faces. But you never asked the right questions. You assumed that appearing human meant we were human. You assumed that human DNA could only exist in human bodies. You assumed that bleeding meant vulnerability. Chen raised his hand. The fingers began to extend, joints appearing where there should be none. The skin flowed like liquid metal, reforming into shapes that defied anatomy. What had been a normal human hand was now something else entirely. Part tool, part weapon, part impossibility. Earth's government told you the truth about everything, Chen continued. We are indeed a young species. We have indeed been in space for only decades. Our technology is indeed primitive compared to yours. The Vorthak leader was trying to back toward the door, but it remained sealed. Then how? Because, Sarah said, her voice now coming from speakers throughout the station. Earth is not our original home. The temperature in the room dropped further. Frost was beginning to form on the alien weapons and equipment. David's form flickered, becoming briefly translucent. We chose Earth as our new home after our previous civilization ended. We chose to start over as humans. We chose to experience life as a young, primitive species. Chen's transformation was accelerating. His body was becoming taller, his proportions shifting. Under his suit, patterns of light were becoming visible. The same kind Sarah was displaying, but far more complex. For 50 Earth years, we have lived as humans. We have experienced your emotions, your limitations, your simple joys. It was educational. Vexrath tried to activate his emergency communication device, but it remained silent. You are not humans at all. You are something else wearing human shapes. No, Chen corrected, his voice now a harmony of tones that made the air itself vibrate. We are humans. We chose to become humans. But we did not choose to stop being what we were before. Sarah walked to the nearest window. When she touched the glass, it became transparent in a new way. Instead of showing normal space, it now revealed what was really outside the station. The 3 small human ships had become a vast fleet. Hundreds of vessels filled the surrounding space, their hulls shifting and changing like living things. Our ships have been here all along, Sarah explained. Waiting. Watching. Recording everything. David approached the alien soldiers, who were now huddled together in fear. None of their weapons worked. Their armor had become heavy and clumsy. Some were having trouble breathing as the station's atmosphere shifted to compositions their biology could not handle. We have been recording your conversations for years, David said. Every planet you have enslaved. Every species you have exterminated. Every war crime you have committed in the name of galactic order. Chen was no longer recognizable as human. His form had become something magnificent and terrible. Light flowed through him like blood through veins. His eyes were not eyes anymore, but something like distant stars. We came here today to give you one final chance, Chen announced. We hoped you might show wisdom, compassion, the possibility of change. The Vorthak leader fell to his knees. His armor was no longer responding to his commands, becoming a prison instead of protection. Please, he gasped. We can negotiate. We can change our policies. Chen moved closer. Each step made no sound, but the floor beneath his feet showed patterns of light that spread outward like ripples. You attacked our diplomats, Chen said simply. You threatened to torture us. You planned to broadcast our humiliation to terrify our people. The ethereal collective member's light was dimming rapidly. We made a mistake. We did not understand who you really were. No, Chen replied. You made the same mistake you have made for thousands of years. You assumed that power meant the right to dominate others. You assumed that strength meant freedom from consequences. Sarah turned from the window. Her form was now partially digital, existing as patterns of light and information. The Galaxy Council's reign is ending. Starting now. David gestured toward the sealed door. It opened, but not to freedom. Beyond it waited more humans, or beings that appeared human. They moved with the same fluid grace that Chen now displayed. Every council world is being contacted simultaneously, David announced. Your slave species are being offered freedom. Your military commanders are being given new orders. Your government systems are being updated. Vexrath's tentacles went limp. How long have you been planning this? Chen's laugh was like music played on instruments that should not exist. Since the moment we first detected your civilization, Earth's government is 100% human, but Earth's technology, Earth's true capabilities, those came from us. He gestured, and holographic displays appeared throughout the room. They showed council worlds across the galaxy. On each one, human ships were arriving. Slave populations were being liberated. Corrupt officials were being arrested by their own security forces. We have been patient, Chen explained. We have been careful. We have waited for you to change on your own. But patience has limits. The spider-like alien tried to speak but found its vocal cords no longer functioned properly. Chen noticed and restored its voice with a thought. You cannot conquer the entire galaxy with just one species, it managed to say. Chen's form solidified back into something almost human, but the silver eyes remained. Conquer? We have no interest in conquest. We are librarians. Librarians? Vexrath's confusion was total. We collect civilizations, Sarah explained. We preserve their knowledge, their culture, their potential. We help them grow beyond their limitations. David added, the Galaxy Council was limiting that growth, preventing dozens of species from reaching their full potential. This could not continue. Chen looked around the room at the terrified alien representatives. Today, you have a choice. Join the new galactic community as equals. Help us build something better. Or, he did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Outside the windows, the human fleet was moving. Ships beyond counting. Each one containing technology that could reshape worlds. The revolution had begun, and the Galaxy Council's 1,000-year reign of terror was ending. Choose wisely, Chen advised. This is your last opportunity to choose at all. The Vorthak leader refused to accept reality. Despite everything he had witnessed, his warrior pride demanded action. He pulled a hidden blade from his armor and lunged at Chen with a roar that shook the room. The blade should have been undetectable. Vorthak technology was among the most advanced in the galaxy. The weapon was forged from quantum metal that could cut through any known substance. It moved faster than most beings could think. Chen caught the blade between two fingers. The quantum metal, which could slice through starship hulls, stopped completely. Chen examined the weapon with mild curiosity, while the Vorthak leader struggled uselessly to move it another millimeter. Fascinating, Chen observed. Your metallurgy is quite sophisticated. The quantum lattice structure allows the blade to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Chen's fingers shifted. They were no longer entirely solid. Parts of them phased in and out of reality. Moving through dimensions the Vorthak could not perceive. The unstoppable blade began to dissolve, its quantum structure unraveling like smoke. However, Chen continued conversationally, existing in multiple dimensions also means being vulnerable in multiple dimensions. The Vorthak warrior found himself frozen in place. His massive strength, capable of crushing steel, was useless. Chen had not grabbed him or restrained him in any visible way, but every muscle in the alien's body refused to obey his commands. Your nervous system operates on bioelectric signals, Chen explained, as if teaching a class. Very straightforward to intercept and override. The Vorthak's eyes widened in horror. He could feel foreign thoughts moving through his mind, not controlling him, but examining every memory, every fear, every secret he had ever tried to hide. Interesting, Chen mused. You destroyed the colony on Vega 7 personally. 30 million beings. You enjoyed their suffering. Chen's form began to change again. His limbs extended and reshaped themselves into configurations that hurt to look at. Joints appeared where they should not exist. His fingers became tools of impossible complexity, part surgical instrument, part weapon, part something that had no name. The children on Vega 7, Chen continued, his voice now carrying harmonics that resonated with the Vorthak's bone structure. You saved them for last. You wanted their parents to watch. The room's temperature plummeted further. Other aliens were backing away, but there was nowhere to go. The doors remained sealed, and the walls themselves seemed to be watching them. Sarah approached a group of Zephyrian assassins who had been trying to phase into gas form to escape. But their ability was not working correctly. They kept flickering between states uncontrollably, trapped in an agonizing cycle of transformation. Your phase-shifting ability, Sarah explained helpfully, relies on quantum field manipulation. We are simply adjusting the local quantum environment. One of the Zephyrians managed to speak through his convulsions. Stop, please. Of course, Sarah replied pleasantly. As soon as you answer some questions about the research station on Kepler 90b. The one where you tested new torture techniques on captured civilians. The Zephyrian's form solidified completely, but his features showed absolute terror. How do you know about that? Those records were classified at the highest levels. David was examining the spider-like aliens with scientific interest. Classified from whom? You broadcast everything on quantum frequencies. We have been listening to your communications for decades. He gestured, and holographic displays appeared showing intercepted alien communications. Messages between council leaders discussing the elimination of inconvenient populations. Orders to destroy entire star systems to prevent rebellion. Casual conversations about which species would make the best slaves. The Proxima incident, David continued, reading from the displays. You convinced 3 species to fight each other while you profited from selling weapons to all sides. 2 billion casualties. The spider alien tried to speak but found its vocal cords no longer functioning. David restored them with a thought. That was strategic necessity, the alien managed. Population control. Resource management. Chen turned his attention from the Vorthak leader to the spider alien. When he moved, he left afterimages in the air. Not visual afterimages, but something deeper. Echoes of possibility and potential that hurt to perceive. Strategic necessity. Chen repeated. The words seemed to taste bitter in his mouth. 2 billion individuals. With families. Dreams. Hopes for the future. Strategic necessity. Chen's form continued to evolve. He was becoming something that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Partly physical, partly digital, partly something that had no classification. Looking directly at him was becoming difficult for the aliens. Their eyes could not properly focus on something that existed in too many dimensions at once. Let us discuss strategy, Chen said. Suddenly, every alien in the room felt something invading their minds. Not controlling them, but sorting through their memories like files in a database. Every secret, every crime, every moment of cruelty they had participated in was being examined and catalogued. Vexwrath screamed, his tentacles writhing in agony. Get out of my head, you have no right. Rights, Sarah said thoughtfully. Yes, let us discuss rights. The right of the Altarian refugees to live. You voted to deny them asylum and send them back to their dying world. The right of the synthetic intelligences on Wolf 359 to exist, David added. You ordered them destroyed because they had become too advanced. The right of the mining colonies to fair compensation, Chen concluded. You kept them in debt slavery for generations while extracting trillions of credits worth of resources. The mental invasion continued, but it was not random. Each alien was being forced to relive specific memories. Moments when they had chosen cruelty over compassion, profit over life, power over justice. The ethereal collective member was experiencing the last moments of a civilization it had helped destroy. The spider alien was feeling the pain of every being that had died in the manufactured war on Proxima. The Vorthak leader was experiencing the terror of every child who had died on Vega 7. Stop, Vexwrath pleaded. We understand. You have made your point. Chen's laugh was terrible now. Not evil, but filled with the weight of absolute judgment. Our point? We have not yet begun to make our point. The holographic displays throughout the room changed. Now they showed real-time feeds from across the galaxy. Council fleets were surrendering without firing a shot. Their weapons would not function. Their ships could not move. Entire armadas were helplessly drifting in space. Your military leaders are experiencing the same education you are receiving, Sarah explained. Every civilian they have killed. Every world they have burned. Every species they have exterminated. Every civilian the portals. Every civilian the portals. Every civilian they have killed. Every civilian they have killed. Some are choosing suicide rather than face their memories, David reported clinically. Others are begging for forgiveness. A few are trying to justify their actions. Chen moved closer to Vexrath. His form was now so alien that looking at him directly caused physical pain. Justification is interesting, Speaker. Please, explain to us how murdering children serves the greater good. Vexrath tried to answer but found himself experiencing the memories of every child who had died because of council policies. Their fear, their confusion, their final moments. Thousands of them. Millions. It was necessary for order. Vexrath's voice broke. Order, Chen repeated. Yes. You will experience our version of order now. The room filled with new sounds. Not voices, but something deeper. The quantum frequency signatures of every being that had died because of the Galaxy Council's actions. Their last thoughts, their final words, their dying wishes. All of it broadcast directly into the minds of the Council representatives. It was too much. Alien nervous systems were not designed to handle this level of sensory input. Some of the representatives collapsed. Others began to shake uncontrollably. A few simply stared blankly ahead, their minds overwhelmed by the magnitude of what they had done. 67 species extinct, Sarah announced. 400 billion individuals murdered. 17 entire solar systems sterilized, David added. 39 civilizations enslaved. 1,000 years of systematic genocide, Chen concluded. All in the name of order and stability. Chen's form began to stabilize back into something resembling human shape. But the silver eyes remained fixed on the alien representatives. And now you understand why we can no longer allow the Galaxy Council to exist. The psychological warfare was complete. The aliens sat broken and defeated, their minds filled with the weight of their crimes. They had seen the true scope of their actions, felt the pain of their victims, understood the magnitude of their guilt. Tomorrow, Chen announced, the galaxy begins again. Without you, the reign of terror was ending. But first, there would be justice. The mental assault stopped as suddenly as it had begun. The alien representatives found themselves able to think clearly again. But the weight of their memories remained. They sat in stunned silence, processing the full magnitude of what they had experienced. Chen's form gradually returned to something approaching human appearance. The silver eyes remained, and his movements still carried that fluid, impossible grace, but he was recognizable as the diplomat who had entered the room hours earlier. The education phase is complete, Chen announced. His voice had returned to normal human tones. But somehow, this made him seem more threatening. Not less. Now we proceed to resolution. Sarah and David flanked him, their appearances also stabilizing back to humanoid forms. But like Chen, they retained subtle differences. The shimmer of advanced technology beneath artificial skin, eyes that reflected light in ways human eyes could not. Vexrath spoke first, his voice barely a whisper. What do you want from us? Chen smiled, and for a moment it was almost gentle. Want? We want nothing from you. You have already served your purpose. He gestured toward the windows. The space outside was filled with ships now. Not just the human fleet, but vessels from dozens of other species, ships that had been hidden, enslaved, or thought destroyed by the Council. Every species you enslaved has been contacted, Sarah explained. Their shackles have been removed. Their true potential is being unlocked. Every world you conquered is being liberated, David added. The artificial famines are ending. The mining quotas are cancelled. The tribute payments are stopped. Chen walked slowly around the table, looking at each alien representative. The Galaxy Council as a governing body is dissolved. Effective immediately. Your authority over other species is terminated. The Vorthak leader, still frozen in place, managed to speak. You cannot just destroy our civilization. We have laws, treaties, economic systems that span the galaxy. Your laws, Chen replied calmly, authorized genocide. Your treaties were forced at gunpoint. Your economic systems were built on slavery. Chen paused beside the ethereal collective member. But you misunderstand our intentions. We are not destroying your civilizations. We are freeing them. A new holographic display appeared, showing Vorthak worlds. But instead of the military fortresses and weapon factories that had dominated their society, the images showed something different. Construction projects, schools, research facilities devoted to healing rather than warfare. Your own people are choosing differently when given the chance, Sarah observed. Without the Council's constant demand for military expansion, they prefer to build rather than destroy. Similar displays appeared for each Council species. Ethereal collective worlds were developing art and philosophy again, freed from their obsession with galactic dominance. Spider alien colonies were returning to their original focus on engineering and exploration. Free will, David said simply. A concept your governments had forgotten. Vexrath's tentacles curled in confusion. But without central authority, there will be chaos. Wars between species. Competition for resources. The galaxy will tear itself apart. Chen sat back down in his original chair, his posture relaxed but alert. That is certainly what the Council taught everyone to believe. But observation suggests otherwise. New images appeared. Freed slave worlds were not fighting each other. Instead, they were cooperating, sharing resources, combining their technologies and knowledge. Without the Council's divide and conquer tactics, natural alliances were forming based on mutual benefit rather than fear. The Altarian refugees you condemned to death, Sarah continued, have been welcomed on 17 different worlds. Their unique understanding of stellar engineering is helping to repair damaged systems throughout the galaxy. The synthetic intelligences you ordered destroyed, David added, are now working with biological species to solve problems neither could handle alone. Chen leaned forward slightly. It seems that when beings are not constantly afraid of being conquered or enslaved, they prefer cooperation to conflict. The spider alien clicked its mandibles weakly. What happens to us? To the Council species? Are we to be executed for our crimes? Executed? Chen seemed genuinely surprised by the question. Why would we execute you? You are not irredeemable. You are simply miseducated. He stood again and moved to the center of the room. Each of you, each of your species, will have the same choice as everyone else in the galaxy. Join the new community as equals. Contribute your skills and knowledge to the common good. Live in freedom and peace. Vexrath's voice carried a note of desperation. And if we refuse? If we try to resist this new order? Chen's expression did not change, but the temperature in the room dropped noticeably. Then you will discover why we chose patience and education as our primary tools. Because the alternatives are less pleasant. Sarah gestured toward the displays. 17 Council military leaders have already chosen resistance. Their fleets attempted to attack liberated worlds. Their ships no longer exist, David reported matter-of-factly. The crews were teleported to safety first, of course, but the vessels themselves were recycled into more useful materials. Chen walked back to the window. We are not conquerors. We are gardeners. Sometimes gardening requires removing weeds so that healthy plants can grow. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence, processing what they had learned. Their 1,000-year empire had been dismantled in a single day. Their fleets were powerless. Their authority was gone. But they were still alive, still being offered a chance at redemption. "I don't understand," the ethereal collective member finally said. "You have the power to simply eliminate all opposition. Why offer us choices at all?" Chen turned back to face them. For a moment, his appearance flickered, showing glimpses of the magnificent and terrible form he had revealed earlier. Then he was simply human again. "Because," he said quietly, "we remember being like you." The admission hung in the air like a physical presence. "Our original civilization," Sarah explained, "made similar mistakes. We conquered, we enslaved, we justified atrocities in the name of order and progress. We nearly destroyed ourselves," David continued. "We came very close to ending all life in our home galaxy." Chen nodded slowly. "We survived by learning to be better, by choosing growth over conquest, by valuing life over power." He looked directly at each alien representative. "We offer you the same chance we gave ourselves. To learn, to grow, to become something better than what you were." Vexwrath's tentacles moved in a gesture Chen's translator identified as profound sadness. "And if we cannot change? If we are too set in our ways? Then you will have comfortable retirements on worlds of your choosing," Chen replied. "With all the resources you need to live well, but without the ability to harm others." "Exile," the Vorthak leader said bitterly. "Freedom," Chen corrected. "Freedom from the burden of power you were never wise enough to wield responsibly." New displays appeared showing the full scope of the transformation taking place across the galaxy. Billions of beings were experiencing freedom for the first time in centuries. Technologies that had been suppressed were being shared openly. Art, music, and literature were flowing between worlds, without censorship or restriction. Within one generation, Sarah predicted, galactic civilization will be unrecognizable, stronger, more diverse, more creative than anything the Council could have imagined. "Within 10 generations," David added, "the species you thought were primitive will be exploring new galaxies, creating wonders that challenge the laws of physics themselves." Chen smiled, and this time it was genuinely warm. "That is the future we are building. Not through conquest, but through liberation. Not through fear, but through hope." He stood and straightened his jacket, once again appearing as nothing more than a human diplomat. "You have 24 hours to make your individual choices. Join the new galactic community, accept comfortable retirement, or face the consequences of continued resistance." Chen walked toward the door, which opened silently at his approach. Sarah and David followed. "Wait," Vexwrath called out. "What should we tell our people? How do we explain what has happened?" Chen paused in the doorway. "Tell them the truth. Tell them that the age of empire is over. Tell them that the age of freedom has begun." He looked back one final time. "And tell them that humanity remembers what it was like to be young and afraid, and making terrible mistakes. We remember, and we forgive, and we hope they will choose to be better." The three figures disappeared through the doorway. The council representatives sat alone in the conference room, surrounded by the evidence of their empire's end and the possibility of their species' redemption. Outside the windows, the new galaxy was being born. A galaxy without masters and slaves. A galaxy where every being had the chance to reach their full potential. The reign of terror was over. The age of hope had begun, and in a small blue world called Earth, children who had been born human but carried the wisdom of an ancient civilization looked up at the stars and smiled, knowing they had kept their promise to build something better.